Do you have gaming disorder? We're talking about that, our lasting E3 impressions, and Sony being left behind in the current state of console wars. If all of that interests you, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
It is just the two of us in studio, Nate.
It's you and I.
I know. Wow, you went right to that voice.
did.
I love it. What is up, guys? I'm Patrick Dees. I am one of your two hosts today. I'm joined by the one, the only Nate Miller.
I'm number 2.
Yeah, you are.
Nate Miller. What's up, nerds?
We are Sans. Mark Donica. Stacy Shuttles is out of the country.
Kicked him out of here.
Like out. It's just you and me.
Yep.
Steve in the booth. What up, Steve?
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
I'm counting you as a third, right? So, but like to Nate's point, there was just no three of us songs. So it's just a great one. You had to come in. I like it. Could you do the whole show in that sultry voice?
No, I can't.
You thought about it
I
for
did,
1 second.
I did.
I kind of liked it. Yes, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I want to spend some time. You played a ton, so we're going to spend some time. I want to hear what Steve's been up to. More importantly, you played some games, and some games that I've been anxious for you to talk to me about. You sent me a text. I was getting off a plane. I'm like, oh shit, he's been playing those games. So what do you want to start with?
Well, I mean, I guess we should start with Wolfenstein.
Yeah, we
I picked
should.
up Wolfenstein 2.
Yep.
And played through that. I was actually surprised at how short it was.
Okay.
In terms of like the story.
Yep.
I know that there's a lot of side stuff that you can do.
There is, but did you actually go on them?
I did a couple.
Yep, I did too, but like they're not like mission critical at all. So like,
Yeah.
I was so anxious to see that
Yeah,
next thing.
exactly.
Totally.
The narrative was very good. It reminded me very much of like just playing through an action movie.
Yep.
And I still haven't finished the first game or New Order just because it gets very repetitive and samey, and I did not have that issue.
No.
In this part, all of the sequences felt like they were actually like you were killing Nazis, but you were killing Nazis for like a reason, not just because there's Nazis on the screen.
But you got what I was saying though. It was tough for me to talk about this game last year because I kept saying this game goes some places.
Yeah, I was playing the game and I was on Discord with a couple of my friends and just intermittently would go, "Holy shit!"
Like what? What did they do? Right. And just when you think that they can't go anywhere else crazier, they go somewhere even more insane.
Yeah, it's they definitely embraced the tone, I think, in a better way. Having some of the more ridiculous comedic spots helped some of the serious tones, I think.
Got
a good balance.
I could not.
Yeah,
and like
it just
what
gets wilder and wilder.
And what a weird year where 2017, like I still stand by what I said before, that BJ Blazkowicz was arguably the best written character in games in 2017. And I'm like, I never would have bet $1,000.
I don't know if I would agree with that.
You don't think so?
No, it was a good story, but I don't really. I appreciate what they did to actually humanize him versus the other games, but
well, like so this stuff, like, and I won't do. We're going to keep this conversation very spoiler free. But one of the things it does address is his father and his relationship with his dad, right? And again, this doesn't give anything away, but it explores that relationship and says like. Also, like, because BJ's famous for killing Nazis, right? That's what he does better. That is his one God-given talent. And, like, I think it was really interesting look at his dad was so, like, he was a bigoted, abuser, right? And they show that very early on. And, like, his desire to not only kill Nazis, not only stems from his hatred of evil Nazis, but to not end up like his father, I thought was a really interesting wrinkle in his character development.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I also don't really want to say too much because I didn't know a lot about it, and I appreciated learning it as I went along. Yeah. But also, I think that's not a really good character motivation because everybody should not want to be a Nazi. Like I get what you're saying,
but it was more
like,
nuanced than
right. Of course, yes. I get what you mean, but it's not like. It's like, oh, my dad was an alcoholic, so I'm going to try not to drink like times 1,000. Also,
yeah, totally. When that's human garbage, I don't want to be that.
Right.
But like, yeah, they went some places. I have to ask you this, and if you played this at home, you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. There is a segment on Venus. Did you get the achievement? And I won't say, okay, you did. Yes. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Which is code for something unbelievable.
The first thing that crossed my mind.
Perfect. Yes. You're like, okay, good.
I tried a couple times to see if there was a way to
get more achievements.
Yes.
Yeah,
or even just if that was like a possibility.
Yeah.
Yes.
Steve in the booth, did you play Wolfenstein and do you know what achievement I'm talking about?
I have played the New Order.
Okay.
I have played the Old Blood.
Okay.
I have not played the New Colossus.
Oh man, you are gonna like this game.
It is so on my list.
It is something else, which is interesting. So now as you were playing it, like when I played it, the Switch version hadn't been announced yet. Like, did you spend any time thinking through how it was gonna play on Switch? Because it's a silky smooth, 60 frames a second, like on the consoles. Do you give any thought about it? You're just
I haven't gotten a Switch yet, so I don't really,
No, fair enough.
Having a PC,
Master Race. I get
you
it.
don't really look down.
I know you look up.
Very often. No, I mean, I've actually been surprised with the stuff that the Switch can do.
Yep.
That being said, I would not be surprised that it can run this game. I don't think it will look as it looks like on my PC.
As evidenced by Doom, like a Doom doesn't look anything like it does on PC.
But I mean, as far as mobile and taking it on the go, I think that's a good experience too, to be able to take with you. I do have to say though, I don't think it's worth a full price tag as good as it is. Okay. I don't know if I just powered through it and I just expect too much from games, but I wish that I had gotten on sale. I expected it to be longer. The main story part is was like
also good at games. Like that's the other thing. Like I think this game took me a lot longer than
played
probably.
It on not on Billy Terror, but like the one like right below it. It was pretty difficult in some spots.
I played on normal and I like died several times in the course of this game. This game kicked the shit out of me.
Yeah.
To the point where like there was one section that I like literally was like I've tried like 8 times in a row, and if I die at 9th time, I'm just dropping it down easy and finishing the game that way because I'm so invested in the story, and the combat wasn't why I was there, but I was pretty determined to kind of keep it at normal. But easily this was one of the hardest games I've played on a normal setting. Normally on normal, like if anything, I'm looking to bump it up once in a while because you get. Most games, their power curve gets to the point where you're like out of control, you're overpowered, right? Like, and that's kind of the fantasy of games. This game was not that.
Yeah, no, there's no point in the game where you're overpowered.
Not at all. Some of the bosses I ran from because you can just do that.
Yeah, I like the variety in enemies too. It was cool. It was cool, but I think the story was the best part, and because of that, I felt like I wanted more.
Let me ask you this too. I don't want to spend our whole time on this game because, but I am interested. Like, so this is a game like the very beginning of the last Wolfenstein. You make a decision of one of 2 people you're going to save, and then asks you as you boot this one, hey, by the way, which person did you save in the first one? With almost no context. And if you haven't played the first one, it's weird. Who did you save?
I saved
the young guy or the older guy? Okay. I also saved the young guy. Okay, cool. So we had the same stories. We'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Most of my friends thought I was crazy, by the way.
Watch the other.
You did?
Yeah.
See, I need to see
I wish
that.
I had picked the other one, though.
Man, his acid tropes were great. They were great.
No.
And that is in the E3 commercial. I did not spoil anything, but the man goes on acid strips. No, literally, it's in the commercial. It's very good. No, okay. Fair enough. But there's so many other characters in that game are unbelievable.
Have
I'm
you
telling
seen
you.
what the other guy does? Just go to YouTube and just like look at the differences.
Okay.
And there's like a great video that just shows you both, and it really feels like the other one is the one you're supposed to choose.
Okay.
And then
I think it was.
Kind of like if you went this way, it's going to be kind of funny.
I stuck with my choice. I was like, look, I made this bet. I'm sleeping in it. This is what's happening. Okay, yeah, I'm glad you finished that, just because that was one of my favorite like narrative experiences. Because there was two times, which we'll talk about, where I couldn't believe that it went where it went. It's very good. So lots to talk about off mic. But you finished another game.
I did.
Which was?
I've been putting the time into God of War.
Yeah, you have.
Yes, I haven't finished it, but I finished the story.
It's pretty much finished it, and then you're out killing Valkyries right now. What are you doing?
Cleaning
that stuff up.
I'm running from getting destroyed by Valkyries.
That was my experience too. Yeah. I'm on the very last Valkyrie finally.
The molten fire place and got through all the challenges, and then can't do anything to the Valkyries, and I'm going to leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm on the very last Valkyrie. I'm in the Queen, and also you thought my Wolfenstein experience was bad. I called Stacy. I threw my controller. I'm like, I don't understand. She's like, I just put it on easy to fuck that lady. And I'm like, all right. So I know you guys give me shit because look, I spent a year and a half or 2 years with Mark and Stacy doing a show about video game movies in which I came in here and just hated everything. I spent literally all week watching a shitty movie and writing notes, wasting time so I could talk about something that's bad. and this is exciting because I got to talk about things that I genuinely love. You give me shit about liking too much, but this story was outside
shit
the story.
About liking too much. You just when you like something, you get very excited about it, and you use lots of
hyperbolic words.
Yes.
Totally. Yes.
And that's
I
why
like liking things. No, fair enough. How do you think this game? Do you think it's in the conversation for Game of the Year? Will be when said and done. You think so? Okay, so it wasn't great. Like, I mean, it's up there as one of the better games this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if I would say definite just because it's still kind of early, but it's a pretty solid, I would say.
Me too.
It's definitely, I can see why it's a console seller.
Yep.
I'm going to give it back to Mark, and I put it on not the easiest mode, but one below what I would normally play, just so I could get through it.
Yeah.
And I really, really like the combat system, but I'm a god.
Yeah.
And I just kind of played through it just so I could get the story because I want to get it back to Mark. But if I do get a PS4 at some point, and I could definitely see myself buying this game again and playing it on the harder difficulty and playing through it again.
But you see, and we are, for people who are watching at home, we're actually going to do a spoiler cast on this because I really want to talk about the narrative because I think it is one of the crowning achievements of this game. But the exciting thing for me was my case was to you, and I don't want to say too much before you played it, was that every individual piece of this game is best in class. My point would be the combat is amazing and really deep, right? And then, so if you look at that in isolation and the visuals, it's arguably the best looking console game, hard stop. And then you have a story that's one of the best in games,
I think the story is being overhyped.
Fair. I think
I think it's really good.
Right.
I think for example, I think the Wolfenstein story is better. I think it's better.
Yeah, I think it's on par. Yeah.
The God of War story is good.
Yep.
The presentation, I think, is a big part of it.
Totally.
But I would definitely attribute at least my positives for that game more to how well it looks and how well it plays.
It plays amazing.
And how smooth everything runs together.
Yep.
But there were, we'll talk more about the story, but there were some dragging points for me, and some of the boat stuff.
Okay, fair. They do a decent job.
It might be just because I play a lot late at night, but
and you're just sleepy. Come on.
What?
Come on. Okay, tell me the stories. Hurry up. I had out of 10 though. I want to know what you thought of that first boss fight. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Dude shows up and there's a boss fight.
I'd give it
10 out of 10. I've never seen a boss fight.
That's another one of my gripes with the game is that fight is so good, and then there's nothing
even
like
close.
it.
Nope. And in fact they go back to that well a few too many times with that character.
Yeah, and it's not the same.
I am with you.
It's not the same.
What
and
an
I also
impression.
expected maybe this is why I do have a few issues with the game is based off that fight. I expected a completely different game.
I think that's fair. Sets a real high bar real early. In fact, I don't know too many action movies that have a scripted sequence that's shot as well as that first fight.
I could show you a few.
All right,
but
I'd be interested.
They definitely captured the cinematic effect, and they've gotten really good at the QuickTime events. And especially with how smooth the transitions are, the blurring of when am I in control, when am I not.
It felt good.
Yeah, sometimes I like to just let go of the sticks just to see am I doing this? Is it?
Right.
Are you doing this?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And even to the end, they continue some of that when Atreus gets involved in some of the cutscene type stuff. Man. That kid's arc too. Again, we'll talk about it in the spoiler cast. Stay tuned. Please follow us on Twitter. We will let you know when and where that's going to air because we're going to talk all about that. But Atreus' arc was something else too.
Yes.
I thought that was what a cool companion.
Yep. I'm curious for where they take it next.
As am I. And they have a lot of ways they can go, which I think is really exciting. My hope is that it doesn't take another 5 years.
Return back to
and go back to the house and sleep.
Yeah,
I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't, but I know it happens.
Oh, okay, cool.
Real quick, guys.
Yeah.
Stephen the Booth, do
Hit
we know
it.
the sequel's confirmed?
No, I
mean, do they like money?
They literally, that was the fastest selling first party title since PlayStation 2. So, yeah, 100. I mean, again, nothing's confirmed. One thing Cory Barlog said over and over again is that he doesn't want to make DLC for this one. He'd like to just get on to making the next game. And now that they have an engine and kind of he said he's got 4 or 5 of these games storyboarded. So,
so does that mean that there's no DLC, but the DLC is just fully fleshed out games in the same engine?
Right.
I'm fine with it.
I think they're literally just making a sequel. My point is there's not going to be The Adventures of Baldur or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there's going to be, we're not getting more
But would
additions.
you be surprised if your progression carried over?
I would love it. No, that'd be great, right? Like, I don't think they will. I'd be surprised. There's no way that does. And in fact, like, look, we're 2 years out from another console generation, so like this might be a launch title for the PS5.
Yeah,
that's a good point there.
So, I mean, I think 2 years would be really aggressive. You have full disclosure. My cousin was the loot table and progression designer on this game, and so having heard horror stories about what it took to get this one off the ground, like I don't know, but I mean they've got like workflow down now. Like I don't know. Maybe 2 years isn't too optimistic, but I don't always see it.
I'm not crazy about the RPG systems that they put in.
That's my cousin. Now you're just shit talking my family.
No, the loot tables are
it's cool,
excellent.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I know. I know it wasn't perfect, and it was really interesting too. Is one of the things that he'd said, and I hope I'm not speaking out of school, Nick. Like one of the things that they put in very last in that whole game was all of the UI. Like didn't really have an idea of what any of that was going to look like 6 weeks before the game shipped, which
that
is
makes sense.
Crazy, right?
And you could tell somebody vomited it out,
and you could kind of tell. And
the
they
first time I hit pause, I was like,
"Whoa!" Okay, all right, dude. I'm really glad that you kind of powered through this. I think like our game of the year conversations are going to be awesome this year, and I'm glad that you got to do that. And I'm very excited about
we've all played.
What's that? I know that's going to be good. So stay tuned. We're definitely having spoiler conversation because I think this warrants a good at least 30 minutes on this story because it's again one of the better ones in gaming. Steve, you were telling me on mic, man, you've been playing some good stuff. I'm curious to see what you've been playing, man.
Yes. As I was looking at all the wonderful sales that the PSN had going on during the week of E3, they had the Days of Play sale plus the E3 sale, and I've actually been going back into my catalog on some other games that I have been struggling to make the time for since last year. One of them being Neo. There was a sequel announced, and with as we'll talk later on with our greatest impressions from this year's E3. Quick shout out to Ghost of Tsushima and Sekiro so Shadows Die Twice. It invigorated so much for me to go back into playing Neo, and I've just been having a blast with it.
Going back in, this is a game you've already finished before.
No, it is not.
Okay,
actually,
you put it down.
Stuck. Okay. This is. Let me give you a very brief breakdown on.
Yeah.
It. Okay, so it plays like Dark Souls,
right?
But it's not Dark Souls. It's got the same people behind Ninja Gaiden,
right?
And yet a whole bunch of fans of Onimusha are just playing the living daylights out of this thing. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's super hard. There's a lot of skill put into the techniques of the fighting system, the different stances with the different weapons and everything. And there's co-op, and they've patched the co-op since it initially came out. It seems to be fully functional at this point. It is freaking great. I
think that's like where I like if I even sniff Dark Souls around any sort of title, I literally just check that out. I'm like, not for me. And I know I'm obtuse. I really need to like let that go.
Nope, same.
It's just and so like the minute like Neo looks beautiful and I've heard nothing but like the combat's amazing. But like again, if it's a Dark Souls like if it's even mentioned in that same breath, I usually tune out.
Yep.
But the idea of like co-op kind of gets me excited, like taking anything on with friends. Nate's like,
co-op
no.
in Dark Souls too.
I mean,
yes, there is,
right?
Definitely.
Okay.
Well, what really pulls me in, I guess, with Neo more than Bloodborne, more than Dark Souls, is just the samurai,
right?
Feudal Japan setting, and just the techniques with the sword. I mean, you get all the moves set up. You play that thing like Bushido Blade.
Yep.
Where are you?
Yeah, I think that's what they got. Bushido Blade too, right?
Oh yeah.
Anything else you've been playing? So you've been E3's kind of like gave you that impression, like that you should be moving on to that. Is there anything else that you've been in your playlist here?
I actually, believe it or not, as still being a fan of Prey, I picked up the Moon Crash.
Oh
DLC
no!
And I like it.
Is it as roguelike as it looks? And tell me about like, is there story progression to it? Because I thought that trailer was very vague.
Yes. Okay. Brief synopsis. It is roguelike in the sense that it's a separate chapter. You're not playing as the same character. You're in a different setting. You're kind of on a moon base.
Right.
Put into a virtual reality system that's to investigate a derelict other moon base, essentially, that is remote. No responses on the comms. Everybody's presumably dead. And it's definitely hostile alien faction happening over there. So you start off as one character, and then you go from that to your exit, but you can explore along the way whatever you find. If you find other corpses of other members of the crew. You find them.
Okay.
And then later on, you get to play as them. And
so you've got to locate them first.
Yes.
And then is it run based? So like if I get through with a lot of materials in that next run, as I play as one of those other characters, they'll have what I found in my first run through?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's how you unlock things.
I wasn't
each
sure.
character has special stats to them as well. Not to mention different timelines in the story of the base.
Which is why it looks like it's in various conditions that they show in the trailer.
Exactly.
Like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I'm about it. I'm definitely about it.
Nate, are you big like roguelike?
Nope.
You don't do roguelikes either? Not your jam?
I'm just not. I just don't like Prey.
Yeah, I don't like Prey either. We've talked about it on the show. But like, okay, here's me being a little bit negative. Like, there's a game that I've never wanted to like more than Prey. Like, I spent 42 hours with Prey. Like, it's my jam. It is a systems-driven game. It's like, it's not the rogue like the original, but like, it's sci-fi. It's really heady. Like, I love Deus Ex. Like, all these other games that like from that Looking Glass lineage, I was like, this should be my jam. And I was telling Steve, like 42 hours in, I just had a hard look at myself. I'm like, I'm not having any fun with this. I can't.
This is true.
I wanted to. But like, I can genuinely say I invested.
42 hours?
I know, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, I felt like I did.
I kept talking
Nate.
Patrick into it. Patrick would come to me off the set and be like, man, how are you liking this game? Like, it's... like trying to get a freaking weapon together. I'm just running around with a wrench, like smacking these things that, disguise themselves as cups, man. I'm bored.
Yeah.
I'm really bored.
I kept going back to the well, but finally I'm like, I can't. And so.
I'm not a big horror game person.
It's fair.
So I wasn't interested on that front, and everything I've seen of the game.
Yep.
Looks awful.
There's a cool story, but the combat's real bad. The combat's real bad. Yeah. It's just no Dishonored, right? Like I thought it was going to be in like a sci-fi Dishonored. Sign me the fuck up.
I still haven't. I can't get into Dishonored 2.
Can't recommend it enough. Those things you can run around like a finely tuned like John Woo movie, right? Like running, sliding, put a razor thing under a table as they run by, they explode. Like that combat's utterly fantastic, but nevertheless,
yeah,
well, I'm glad it exists. I'm not. Yeah. I was excited for you specifically when this showed up on their press conference.
Absolutely.
So,
well, I mean, it plays like BioShock. That's the closest.
No,
similarity
it doesn't. That's so generous. It does not play anywhere near as well. I wanted to play like BioShock, and it's that lineage, right? Like that's that team. I really wanted to like Prey, but I'm glad you're enjoying the DLC. How much is the DLC?
Oh, I think it was over $20.
Yeah. Okay.
It's up there.
I was surprised to see more from that team.
Yes, I was too. Definitely surprised.
That bit during the conference did not work when she pretended to be a mimic. Do you remember this in the conference in Bethesda?
It did not work.
Nope. Okay, you just did.
Tuned it up.
Yeah.
Actually, I probably skipped past the praise.
You probably did. It fell real flat, so you missed absolutely nothing. So like this time of year is weird, right? There's no, like latest, newest, best. I'm playing most whatever's new, but there's just nothing. And so when I've gone back and started playing DLC from the other games from earlier this year. So I just bought and finished this week Far Cry 5 Hours of Darkness.
Okay.
Which is their first DLC. It's Vietnam. And the setup is, do you know about it? The setup is a guy lives in Hope County. He's telling the story about when his chopper went down to Nam, and this is how he gets out. And so they give you... like, I don't know, it's maybe the size of like one of the thirds of those maps, and it basically says, here's your exit point. You can go straight there if you want. I bet you can get out in 45 minutes if you want. Or here's this whole map and you can rescue other people that were within part of your crew. And so I obviously wanted to see everything. The things that it does differently would be if you destroy anti-aircraft guns, it opens up an airstrike, right? So in various parts of it. So you've got to clear various parts. Like each one's a little geography. So if you kill that anti-aircraft gun, then you've got this part of the map you can just signal up to 5 airstrikes and just blow the shit out of the encampments. It's kind of cool. And then you get a stealth bonus. So as you go, the first dude you ace in stealth, I'm making these up, but like the first one is like you spot the next guy easier, and then you move 50% faster, and then your guy spots people for you up, and they stack up to like 6. And theoretically, you have them until you're spotted. But it's kind of interesting. It really incentivizes that stealth, and it takes away all of the gadgets, right? Like it's just iron sights, and it's just I thought it was really, really interesting, and really That first
Did you
game,
finish it?
I did. I did. I mean, there's not much of an ending, but I think it makes that violence feel real in a way that, like, I was kind of concerned, like, it's tough when you parody, like, actual wars, right? And, like, places where people actually died. And I thought that they were going to treat the violence the same way they did in Hope County. It'd be over-the-top, goofy Far Cry violence. But early on, you get a guy in your squad, and his barks are dark. Like, he's been in a POW camp, and so when he screams, he's very upset at the Viet Cong. And just like, you take this. And it's like, it's really fucked up. Most of the time, I'm like, yeah, I'm ending people's lives. This is not, like, okay. So it was a tonal shift. But I just like Far Cry games. I really like that formula. And what I like about that game is, you know, you light up the Far Cry map, right? Like, do you remember that when you first see this map, it's like almost intimidating. You're like, I'm never going to finish. I loved that game. It's accessible. You know, you've got 6 hours with this. It's Vietnam. It's a whole different color palette. It was like green and dark gray and a lot of fog. It's cool. I really dug it.
Yeah, and there's more DLC coming throughout the summer. I think the next one is the one that goes to Mars.
Oh, when is that? Do you know?
Shooting up some aliens. I'll look up the
Yeah,
date
could you check that out for me?
Yep,
Because I'm really
absolutely.
curious. That gives me something else to be excited about.
Oh, yes, definitely.
I think I'm waiting for the collection of that to get it on sale.
Did you? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
would
get the pass.
the pass.
Yeah.
I got the pass, and it part of why was because it came with Far Cry 3, a remaster. Which going back to Far Cry 3, dude, going back to Far Cry 3 after the improvements in 5, you think it's going to be 3, like with those improvements, you come back and all of that quality of life is gone. It is rough.
Yeah.
Visually, it looks good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it was very tough to go back to after you play, like, because 5 plays so great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the open world games have come a long way
They-
from where
right?
Far Cry 3. At its time, it was
Watershed
innovated
moment.
a lot of things.
Totally
Right.
agree.
But we've come a long way.
We have, and it was really evident when I
2
booted that up.
games.
Yeah, dude. I was like, let's do this Far Cry thing, because that's what I was going to be in my DLC. Was I'm just going to play through 3 again, because it's been a long time.
Even 4 would play a little dated now. I can't imagine.
Probably.
playing
This one
3
felt
again.
just. It was rough. I will say though, I played for the first like hour and a half. Man, Voss is fucking cool. Voss was just the highlight of that game. Do you remember? Do you remember how it starts?
Yep. The first few hours of that game are great.
Dude, do you remember, like, you're watching that MIA Paper Planes video with you and your stupid friends on vacation? It's so good. I'd forgotten.
Hey guys, just to follow up on the
Yes.
Far Cry 5 DLC release dates. What I have is for the month of July is Lost on Mars, and then in August is Dead Living Zombies. That's the last piece of the DLC.
Give me
but
all
no
of that.
actual dates, so we're looking at just sometime in July and sometime in August.
But that's
right
good.
around the corner.
But that's good because September, like, we've got Tomb Raider coming out. Then October we get into Red Dead and all of the fourth quarter
you mean
games.
Broketober?
I mean Broketober. Yeah, no kidding. There's so many games. And then let me quickly. We have some news that we're gonna get to here, but I also picked up. And this is what I've been really, really interested in. It's Assassin's Creed Origins: Curse of the Pharaohs, which I don't know. Do you know of that one?
I have it. Yeah,
You
I
have
started it.
How far in did you get?
Not very far. I just got I got the pass, so I got both of them.
Cool.
And I spent some time playing through the first one.
Yep.
And then after I beat it, I stepped into that one a little bit. And was like, all right, I'm good for right now.
So let's
It's
swap.
different.
Tell me about the quiet ones or whatever, and I'll tell you about Curse of the Pharaohs, because I'm really interested in that, but I just skipped over it because it looked like more of the same.
It is more of the same.
Got it.
It's cool. It's cool from a story perspective too, because there's actually it advances the plot.
Should I go back and pick it up then?
I
mean, I have it, but like I
Yeah.
just decided not to play it. I just went right to Curse of the Pharaohs.
I'd say it's worth playing for sure. Yeah, Curse of the Pharaohs is cool. I played it enough to know what it is.
It's real big. It's massive.
Yeah, I just don't know if I want the prospect of the fantasy stuff was cool.
Yep.
Until I actually was doing it, and then I was like, it's not what I play this game for.
I think what's so
especially
cool,
now playing God of War.
Yeah. Okay, I will give you that. Right, the combat's just so much better. You're totally right.
It's just not, but it's not even just better. I mean, it is better, but also just like for what it's for. Like the game's not designed for you to be fighting mummies and cursed pharaohs and stuff. The game's designed for you to be fighting Romans and Greek dudes. Like,
I think it's worked to this point. What's interesting to me though is just like what a departure it is, like from a palette perspective. Like the game, like you would never conflate this game and the base game. Like you could just literally walk in. the very beginning, but like when you go into all of the tombs, right? You go into those different
tombs
worlds.
And stuff, okay.
It's just so like it's such a departure from anything that you've ever seen.
Okay.
Like
I didn't go into any of the tombs.
So the tombs, you go into each one of these like these pharaohs' worlds, right? And so you go inside this one, the first one you go into, and it's like paradisical, right? There's this like sun's larger than life.
So that's where the landscape. Because I'm gonna say, because I was like, I got there in the city, and I was like,
oh yeah, the first city is exactly the same. Okay, yeah, totally.
Just got scary mummies everywhere.
No, and then what you do is you go through these tombs, and they like ostensibly like teleport you to like a different world, and then you have a whole different map, which is each just pharaoh's like afterlife.
Right.
So the first two that I've been to, the first one is like, again, it's like paradise. It's brighter than everything. It's like everything looks like you would imagine a paradise where it's super clean. It's like. And it just looks, everything's a little off. Like birds have human faces, and it's like you're definitely in another place. And then the second one is this like field of wheat, which is like again that whole it's a gladiator scene. It's again just unlike anything you've ever seen. There's ships just floating in the wheat, just cruising by. It's really very surreal, very cool.
I'll have to give it some more time.
Highly recommended if you're looking for something to play in the drought. So we are going to talk about gaming disorder, but first I want to ask. Ostensibly, this is a news show. We talk a little bit of news. Last week was arguably the biggest segment of news all year long. I want to ask you, Nate, like, what were your lasting impressions from E3? We had our E3 show, and I felt like we didn't have the time really to let that conversation breathe. Like, now that we're a week out, dust has settled.
It's been 2 weeks.
Now that 2 weeks have passed, dust is super settled. What do you think? Like, was it underwhelming? Was it about what you thought you'd get? Like, what? Like,
I think
talk to me.
E3 is dumb and a relic of the past.
I know you do. Anything stick out for you? What are you most excited about then from E3? I know you're dead inside.
Red Dead Redemption 2
wasn't at E3.
I know. I don't.
All right,
I don't.
Yeah, okay.
I like. Yeah, it was hype watching it together. I had a good time and stuff.
Yeah.
But most of the games, I don't know if it's because I'm a PC gamer, but
That's fair.
Just like. 76 was cool, but I mean, we find out about that before then, and like, I'm excited for it. I'm not like crazy super hyped for it. There's just nothing. I don't know if maybe I'm just old and grumpy now, but like E3 just doesn't. It's like the music industry. Like you can't. No one listens to. You can't break a record on the radio anymore.
Yeah, you're right. No,
you gotta listen to stuff on stream. So I feel like the gaming community and space is just. We consume games different. Games are produced different. This whole games as a service thing has games that aren't necessarily all done and they're released. How does that fit into a hype cycle of a yearly show where there are expectations for like? I just feel like it would be better if they just spread the directs out throughout the year.
Well, they're doing that. Like, I think you're right. I think we're seeing that, but I think this is the one chance for the electronic entertainment industry has to have like mainstream media watch. Like they're never going to get a USA Today to watch a Red Dead trade. Red Dead's the one exception, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's never going to be a Halo announcement that like USA Today picks up if it's not at E3. That's where like mainstream media shows up, and it's not just enthusiasts like us.
Like the exclusivity of a premiere at a showroom floor.
100%.
I mean, I think
Thanks, Steve.
That's definitely true now. I think it's less true than it was in the past, and I think as time goes on, it's going to get even less and less true. I think as games become more about culture, and also younger people who don't read the Wall Street Journal, don't care about New York Times, they get all their news from YouTube and 100%. Twitter and Twitch, and they're watching these games. And so when as the markets start to change and people realize that these people are not who they're selling to, they're selling to these people, they're going to have to adjust how they do that. And I think we're still very early on to it. You know, all ways are not dead completely, but I think that for me, I'm ready to. I'm kind of done with E3.
That's fair.
No. Like I like seeing the announcements. I like hearing people talk, but I'd rather just get stuff throughout the year. I'd rather have more natural interactions. Like it's the amount of time that I spend with Blizzard and when Jeff Kaplan gets on and he's talking about development and they do the Hearts like. And then even Bungie, as they've been kind of shitty, they still do directs. They still do their live streams and stuff. So coming from that as my primary communities to the console game where you just get these big companies and it's so industrial and everything's so rigid and like awkward.
I think that's because they've got you're totally right. Like I think you're speaking to two different things, right? Like one would be community management. Like you feel a connection with Kaplan and those guys. Like, and I think that's super important because you are one of the 3 customers that they have to juggle at E3, right? So they've got. That's why those things feel awkward because they're pitching to 3 different groups, right? Like us as consumers, the people that actually buy the games. They're pitching to retailers, people that are like managing pre-orders and putting stuff on shelves, and then they're also, believe it or not, pitching to stockholders. Right. They literally have to set expectations for these, which is why you get those weird, like the Microsoft event where they mention that machine learning preloading thing, all for stockholders, right? Like, because I don't give a shit. Like, I think it's clever technology.
I think that's really cool, but
I agree, right? Yeah, but like again, it's not going to drive hype, right? Like so. Yeah, I think it is. It is a relic, and it's starting to feel. This one was weird this year too because Steve, I don't know if you agreed, but like it felt like I've heard it described as like an exhale or like an inhale. Sorry, like new consoles are coming, and that's like this game. This for me, this E3 was about like games that didn't show up. Like Rocksteady wasn't here, so is that just a launch console, a launch game for the next console? Like we didn't see anything with the Avengers project. For me, this one there were some exciting moments. Like I'm very stoked about Cyberpunk. I think for me, like this, it feels like it's in a holding pattern.
That's a good point. I think me not being invested in the console cycle at all, it probably takes away some of that.
Yep.
Yeah, for me.
So yeah, for me, this E3 was just that. It was like you can tell that everybody's bracing for new hardware, and we even got an Xbox code name, which is called the Scarlet. Like I wouldn't be surprised. These things aren't 2 years away, so we'll have these by 2020, which is tough because I invested in both mid-cycle upgrades. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I think Cyberpunk was the one thing, like, I really hope they release the behind closed doors demo. I couldn't get my way into seeing that stuff, but like, I've heard enough about it that I'm like I'm excited. A CD Projekt Red guy, all right.
Yeah, we pretty much guessed that for the Microsoft panel, didn't we?
Yeah. Which what a great moment too, as they like bring the lights down. I thought that was pretty great. See, like we talked a little bit too. You were affected by a couple games at E3. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention before we kind of wrap up E3 for this year?
Yeah, I'd like to take a moment and talk about Sekiro.
Yeah.
Shadows Die Twice. Now that's from Software. That's a lot of Dark Souls fans taking a look at that game and go, wait a minute, that doesn't look like Dark. Wait. But
published by Activision too.
Yes. Okay.
Well, that's crazy.
Interesting throwback to that, right?
Yeah.
So there's a few things with that that, at least with the trailer, as we finally find out like what kind of game it is. Feudal Japan, samurais, ninja, crazy characters, crazy storylines. You can expect some kind of feral spontaneity with how that will transpire, judging by what we saw from a boss fight in the trailer.
Yep.
Using a grappling hook in the middle of the combat because the guy, if I remember correctly, was on horseback.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for that. I thought it was going to be Bloodborne 2.
I think you and the rest of the world. I think everybody was pretty shocked.
Yeah, but I'm a huge Tenchu fan, and
cool.
Being a lightweight Dark Souls player, shout out to Neo 2 premiered at E3. I'm really looking forward to this because I think it's gonna scratch that itch of being a ninja in something else than Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, fair enough. More ninjas is always a good thing. I don't think even Nate would not disagree with that.
Never have too much ninjas.
I agree.
And furthermore, shout out again to Ghost of Tsushima. That had inspired me so freaking much, Patrick and Nate. Oh my God! I actually, I fired up the old Criterion collection of Lone Wolf and Cub. I have been watching those. I've been getting my roommates into it. I picked up Lady Snowblood.
Okay.
And I picked up Zaitoshi, the Blind Swordsman. 25 films to go through on that note.
Right. I'm gonna need you to show me these because
real.
I need a coach to help me to know what I should be watching before that game hits.
Sure.
It's called the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
Just all of them.
All of the
Japanese
ones.
All right, fair enough.
Basically.
Done.
Also, one who has studied in things like Miyamoto Musashi's The Book of Five Rings. for two-handed sword fighting and being a fan of that for some time. I'm ecstatic, okay? Like,
game looks real good.
Ecstatic. I went to a used video game store last week, and I found a copy of Blood Will Tell for the PS2.
Wow.
I am that excited
All right.
of Tsushima and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
That is the magic of E3 right there. It's like, that's what I'm talking about. He likes liking things, too. How does that make you feel?
There's no way I could boot up that game. I would go to the store. I'd be so excited. I'd turn it on. Oh, what the hell is this? It looks like doo-doo.
It is tough for me to go back to, man.
In your mind, it looks.
I know
it looks 1080p because that's what you're used to until you turn it on.
It is tough for me to go back to.
I've ruined too many childhood games like that.
I can't even do like a lot of the remasters. Like I guess I was just telling you, Far Cry 3 like not only looks rough but like plays rough. So
you know what doesn't play rough?
What doesn't play rough?
Kingdom Hearts remaster.
Yeah. Oh, you playing that? Do you go in the back? No.
I mean, I'm trying not to.
Yeah, because you don't want to like. So okay, so there's not all of you is dead inside. You were pretty excited about all the Kingdom Hearts stuff.
Yeah, but I've been excited about the Kingdom Hearts stuff for
true.
years, 10 years.
So thank God there's E3 that'll give that to you.
I don't like, and the E3 trailer was whack.
It was whack.
We got a little 5-second difference in each one.
It
like
was very whack.
We got more from the
Just stop.
D23.
Yeah.
So,
just stop.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so I think that's a wrap on that. We do have a couple quick news items, and I want to talk to you, Nate, about. I want to diagnose you to see if you have gaming disorder. Did you see the story this week?
I did.
So this is the International Classification of Diseases presents gaming disorder. This is everywhere on the internet, at least like on all the enthusiast sites. I'm going to read you a little bit about this. It says gaming disorder is characterized by a pattern of persistent or recurring gaming behavior, digital gaming, video gaming, which may be online, i.e. over the internet, or offline, manifested by impaired control over gaming, e.g. onset frequency, intensity, duration, termination, context, increasing priority given to gaming to the extent that it takes precedent over other interests in life and daily activities. I don't know, I like gaming. And the continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences. That 3 is the distinction there. What did you think about this gaming disorder?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a real thing. I think there's definitely people that deal with it. I saw a lot of people making jokes about this, and I understand. I mean, some people are definitely going to be quick to diagnose people that don't have a problem. They just play a lot of games.
Totally.
But I definitely think that there are people out there, young kids, who play too many games to the point of where it causes them harm. I know that I have had, rough weeks and months of where I kind of lose myself in games and I'm not doing things that I should be doing, and I don't know. I think it's naive to not have something like this. Like it's it's so important, and especially we have a generation of kids that are growing up with iPhones and games to be able to play all the time. So I don't know. I think it definitely needs more work refining it, but I think it's a step in the right direction. I'm very much pro this. Any type of treatment, because in my opinion, even worst case scenario, if you're misdiagnosed, you have to go in therapy and talk about why you play games, and someone will go say, oh, he's just escaping, having a good time as he's taking care of his responsibilities, or no, he's medicating and neglecting from what they need to do.
Well, so that was really interesting. I didn't mean to make light of it. I do find some of this funny when we're classifying like just time spent on gaming, where like literally people are doing this professionally now. But I think what was interesting was that 3, right? Like continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences.
Right. Well, see, and when I, because I saw the link, and the quote that you see is if you play 20 hours a week, right? You see that, it's easy to make jokes. But when I actually read the whole thing and you read all of it, they're not trying to. This is not an attack on gamers. This is not like the video games make you violent. What they're saying is some people are playing too many games, and there isn't a textbook classified definition to point to diagnose that. And you have to check all 3 of the boxes.
And this gives them access to treatment, which I think this is. I am
it's
with
an
you.
Actual diagnosis.
And I also think the slippery slope here though is that I think to your point, a lot of times gaming becomes the escape, right? That is a side effect or a symptom of something else, be it anxiety or be it something else in life that's present, and this is their, to your point, medication. It is this is a symptom of something else, but having it on the books gives people access to, hey, there is treatment here, and if it's not this, it's something else. I am with you. I to your point, like I thought everybody was very snarky with the 20 hours a week.
For me, mental health is a very sensitive subject.
Yeah,
I think it's underspoken about, and I think it's kind of getting more talked about in the culture. But then when something like this happened and everyone's first instinct is to make jokes, what that tells me is that people are being naive to think that there are not a large percentage of gamers that think that they're just hardcore gamers that like to play a lot, but in reality they are self-medicating, they're escaping, they're using something which can be healthy in an unhealthy way.
Yeah, I mean, totally. And like to your point, escaping from things that like will hold them back, will close other doors.
Right, exactly. So, not working a full day and you come home and I'm talking about to a point of where instead of doing things that you should be doing that will positively affect you, I mean, you're negatively hurting, like you're not eating, you're not doing your laundry,
you're not having
you're
sacrificing relationships. Totally.
Right.
Well, so like let me ask you this though, because this to me begged a really interesting question. Like, how do you take mental health seriously, and you also are aware of when you've played too many games? So like, how do you game? Like, how do you ingest when you have a game that you want to play, like when do you play? How long do you play? What days of the week? And like, do you have controls around it? Like, how do you?
Yes and no. I mean, it really kind of just, I find for me, it just kind of comes up to like how much I'm doing. Like if I'm really busy, if I'm working a lot, I'm generally not really worried about how much I play because I play when I have a chance.
Totally.
Versus when I have a lot of free time, that's when I can be more concerned about how much I'm playing.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll be playing a game and I'll be like, all right, I'm not having fun, and I'll close it, and then I'm like sitting at my desk. I'm like, all right, well, like, what am I going to play now? And those are the times when I have to stop and say, well, do I need to play something? If I'm, if there's nothing that I want to play, I can do something else. I don't have to fill this time with video games. Yep. So it's just kind of being real with myself and actually taking the time to think about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Present. Right. I like that a lot.
Exactly. But it is a process, and it's a conscious thing, because I try to be aware, and there are times where I shouldn't be doing this. I should be doing something else right now.
But I like that you're thinking through it. Like, I think I'm not proud of this, but I've got a very addictive personality. And so from a very young age, I put controls around everything I do, because I know whatever I do at Mach 6. And so gaming's something that I can fall into. So I've got rules around gaming. So like, I can't game while the sun's up. It's got to be night. I can't game unless I've worked out for less than an hour. So I need to get an hour workout in every day, or I won't let myself play games, because there are other things that I've got to be doing that are more productive. Mm-hmm. And then obviously if I'm playing, like I'm done with work that day. And I usually limit myself to about 2 hours a night. So because, but I need gaming regularly, because that's the other thing that, like, to your point, like mental health, gaming for me represents life is so uncertain, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think you can be like an amazing businessman or brother or family member. You can do all of the quote unquote right things and have relationships fail and businesses fail. But gaming represents this paradigm in which the right button presses equal a win condition. Mm-hmm. And for me, that is so healthy to be in that for like an hour a night.
Also, yeah, I mean, it's something you can look forward to. It's a skill that you can sharpen.
Totally.
And it's to that credit, it's something that you can also fail. But instead of it being like, all right, you failed it, it's done, it's over, you get to try again. So you get, I think that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. So I guess our takeaway would probably be mindful about when you game and how much you game, and that realize that time is limited, and you're gaming at it's an opportunity cost, right? You're giving something else to game, and so think through it a little bit. So just be wary of it. Like, I'm with you. I'm glad that was your relationship with this, because the internet was like all snark. Like, it was just all like, whatever. So anyway, something to take pretty seriously. Other quick hitters. We're not going to talk too much. Well, actually, let's do this. Steve, could you bring up that trailer? Did you see this trailer over the weekend? This Microsoft Switch crossplay commercial, Nate?
Nope.
I'm gonna ask that you watch it. We'll talk over this a little bit. This is a Nintendo Switch commercial. Steve, you could go ahead and play that. That would be awesome. This was a surreal moment in the history of like gaming for me, right? Like, here's two. They're just playing. Look at that. They're playing Minecraft across consoles, right? There's a Switch. There's an Xbox. The timing of this was incredibly curious. Wait till you see the end of this when they have both logos. It's this is the state of gaming in 2018. I think this is so rad. It is a surreal moment at the end of this trailer where there is actually both logos. See, there it is. Did you see the Xbox One and Switch?
Yeah.
It's weird. What do you think?
No. Buy a PC.
I know.
We can all play together.
I know. But I mean, the history of consoles
yes.
and these walled gardens.
But would Microsoft be doing this if they were the number one console?
Everybody says that. And I don't know. Like Phil Spencer's gotten a record saying, look, and whether you believe him or not, he said, look, what's in Microsoft's DNA right now is what's good for gamers. And right now, at least with Minecraft, I think they would.
Was Halo 6 good for gamers?
Halo 6 will be good for gamers. It'll be very good for gamers, Nate. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Steve, had you seen this commercial before? What was your knee jerk here?
Well, I'm not really about the Switch.
Yep.
So there's that. But yeah, it looks interesting.
Well, look, I mean, here's where I think it gets interesting because it was very conveniently timed. Right? The big issue this week was Fortnite players who have logged on to their PS4 cannot play Fortnite. Mm-hmm. If they've created an account anywhere else, they can't play on their PS4. Mm-hmm. And then immediately after, this commercial came out, and I think the perception is that Sony's being left behind a little bit. What do you think?
I mean, that sounds nice, but they still have the highest selling console.
They do, and it's not even close, right? Like, I mean, absolutely. But my point is that if we are legit coming into this next console generation, I think the perception is with the world's biggest game, the biggest thing to ever happen in gaming, Fortnite, to not be forward thinking.
Is it the world's biggest game?
They made
game right now
$332 million last month. I don't know of games that have ever done this. I mean, like even Minecraft, which sold for like nearly $3 billion. Like the economics and the player base of Fortnite, I've never seen anything like it.
But it's also a freemium.
It is, but it doesn't matter. My point is install base and revenue generated.
Right. I mean, yeah. I just don't feel like it should be held to the same standard that other like full price games are, because the nature of freemium is it's free, but it's really not.
No,
people buy the battle pass, and then also too, when you get into the fact that it was how many consoles it was released on, including mobile platforms.
Yep.
I mean, we all know that's a gold mine right there. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised with the money that they've come up with.
I mean, like it is. Yeah, I understand you're not wanting to hold it to the same standards, but like. I do, because it's different. It's a different model. I just like to the point where like you see like Major League Baseball players doing Fortnite dances, right? Like and stuff. Like it has become a cultural touchstone and not even like a game. I mean, way before our time, but like it's like how you hear about Pac-Man, right? Like just like Pac-Man was just everywhere. It was just synonymous with gaming, and I think this is also part of the zeitgeist right now in a way that like just everything isn't. And then for Sony not to be a part of that. It's just not very forward thinking. To your point, they've come into this console generation. They're 2.5x what Microsoft sold. But I think you come out of E3 with like Microsoft's very forward thinking press conference. They just acquired 5 studios. They're doing all these things. I think they're going to do a lot more with PC or like master race. I don't know. It doesn't leave PlayStation in a really good, I think, from a hearts and minds perspective, if you will.
I agree, Patrick.
You do?
Yes.
I'm not crazy?
No, you're not crazy.
I just like it's just bad timing too, because we're winding up this generation, right? Like at the very beginning of this generation, right? Adam Boyes handed what's his name on stage. He said, "This is how you play your Switch game, or this is how you share your Sony games," right? Like it was this very like this direct shot across the bow, right at Microsoft. Shuhei Yoshida and Adam Boyes, they did the whole share thing. And I think they made their brand was synonymous with like being consumer friendly. And this Fortnite thing is tough. No? You look perplexed.
No, I mean, I agree with your sentiment. I just don't think Sony cares.
And I think that's a problem, though, right? Because like coming off the PlayStation 2 generation also was that hubris, right? You remember what they said coming to PlayStation 3, you need a second job to buy this thing. It was like $600. And like they had the best selling console of all time in the PlayStation 2. Coming into 3, that hubris sunk them coming to that generation. And there's been a lot of turnover at Sony. from coming in from this generation. All the people that made the PlayStation 4 the success it is, most of them are gone. Adam Boyes, now the CEO of Iron Galaxy. Like, there's been significant turnover. And I guess my point would be, I'm not Mr. Sony businessman, but I just think from a hearts and mind perspective, like, Fortnite is big enough that they need to do some damage control, and they've been weirdly silent on it, is all.
I think they knew what was going to happen, and they weighed the risks and their options, and they decided, nah, we'll do this. Because if they're going to bring it to the game and the shared account systems and the way that Epic was already running their accounts, they knew what they were doing.
Oh yeah, I mean, they made a decision. You're right. So, I mean, it was intentional, right? But like, I think it's even worse if they thought through it. Like, do you know what I mean? It's even a greater miscalculation, right? Like, I feel like, and then I think that the big concern there, and we are running out of time, would be some of the messaging around it. Like, you have to get out ahead of this stuff. I think it's just because also so many people, it wasn't a problem when you couldn't play Fortnite crossplay with Xbox and PlayStation because not many of these people owned the other console, but a lot of them own as a second option that Switch, and that's what's causing this problem. A lot of both of those console install bases on a Switch. Yeah. We have to get out of here. You guys really should go home. If you're at home, look up the WB is suing the Westworld game. It really cracks me up. I know you're a big Westworld fan, but we don't have time to talk about it. Nate.
Bethesda is suing.
Bethesda is suing Warner Brothers. Yes, sir. Nate, thank you for being here. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try.
Don't sing. Yeah.
All right. No.
The whole vibe.
Totally.
What's up, guys? I'm Nate Miller. You can find me at all social media at DogLikeNate.
So good. So good. Steve in the booth. Where can people find you, sir?
Working at AfterBuzz.
I love that, man. Thank you so much for your support today. You can thank big thanks to Popcorn Talk Network for letting us host the show here. Please follow us at twitch.tv/inventoryfull. You can find me at P to the D's. Mark is at Mark B. Donica, and Stacy is at Stacy Shuttles. Go follow them as well. They'll be back with us next week, and until then, we will see you gaming. That's not
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.